Hey darlings. It was a normal weekend, a wonderful summer day. The Meshkov's family had breakfast on their small, but very cozy and well-organized mansion terrace. The head of the family, Valery Petrovich, drank fragrant brewed coffee with smoky, lush cheesecakes and read the fresh press. The hostess of the house, Svetlana, ate oatmeal on milk, and their beloved daughter, year-old Katya, drank apple juice and boiled it with a spoon in a plate. Mother looked at her child. She did not like the gloomy face and dark circles under her eyes, and she began to instruct her. Katya, well, eat normally in the morning, otherwise you drink only one juice. And so she lost weight, brought herself with her diets, like a blue bird. So it won't take long to get sick. Take a cheese bun, porridge, a couple of spoons, at least you will eat. The girl grumbled. Mom, well, something with me like with a little one. I'm an adult now, and there's a wedding coming up. I won't have your oatmeal with butter and milk, or I won't fit in your dress. God forbid Igor will fall in love with me. He only likes skinny girls. Svetlana shook her hands. Oh, daughter, you fell in love with your Igor and you don't notice anything. You shouldn't have been in such a hurry with the wedding. You've only been dating for 3 months. Is it a deadline? We are with your father and the school bench together. Katya was upset. Oh, Mom, don't start to make your record. I've heard it 100 times. It's boring. It's been so many years. You can get tired of each other 100 times. Igor is so handsome. He looks like the famous actor Alexander Petrov. He is engaged in creative business. So I was very lucky. The girls are all jealous of the course. This is not a snotty classmate, but a businessman. The woman became angry. Katya, listen to me at least once. Your father is also engaged in business. Everything is simple and clear here. He sells equipment for office companies. Everything is done in a white way, without cheating. And what is your fiancé doing? Tell me specifically what. Everything is somehow slippery and incomprehensible. It's messy. It's some kind of nonsense that's messing with people's brains. And those stupid money still pay him for it. Damn, it's so stupid. Katya was parading with tears in her eyes. You just don't understand anything. He's doing trainings and coaching, helping people to find themselves in life, to improve self-esteem. He has a full gym every week, by the way. And the rich also go to the intensive school. And he's also engaged in cryptocurrency. It's now a horror, how popular and promising. We live in a world of advanced technologies, and you're always measuring things with Soviet standards. For you, business is selling tomatoes on the market. Nobody makes money like that anymore. Dad, at least you tell Mom. Valery Petrovich looked at his dear ones with love and said with a hearty heart, Girls, don't fight. Sveta, why did you cling to the child? I personally liked Igor very much. Now everything has really changed. Young people know and know how to earn in a completely different way. Judging by his car and clothes, he definitely does not live on the last penny. Katya loves him. Let him get married. Svetlana kept silent and pinched her lips. And she thought about herself. Well, it's okay. I'll still think of a way to check you, baby. After breakfast, my daughter threw up on a date. Katya was just crazy about her fiancé. Igor was so beautiful. He was always thinking of something interesting. Today, for example, they agreed to go to the beach, to swim and sunbathe. Katya threw a towel, sunscreen, and sunglasses into the beach bag, and she didn't even suspect anything. But when Igor brought her, she just went crazy. The guy was really equipped with a paradise corner. He spread the blanket, took out the ice drinks, fruits, and even ice cream from the basket. She pulled a huge, inflatable 2-seater circle out of the trunk. Special cups pockets were made on its sides. The couple took cocktails with them and swam along the river. It was so romantic. Splashes of refreshing cool water, the wind, the beloved one nearby. Katya was just happy. It seemed to her that it would always be like this, easy and fabulous. Otherwise, it just couldn't be. After all, they're young, love each other, and their whole life is ahead. Sveta and her husband stayed at home that day. Valery Petrovich had a hard day off from work, and the spouses appreciated every minute spent together. They sat on the terrace for a long time and recalled their youthful school years. But what could be recalled? Katya's parents were inseparable from the school bench. Svetlana grew up in a poor family. Her father was a labor teacher, and her mother was a cleaner in a roadside cafe. Both of them paid the essential pennies, which she barely had enough to live with. Her mother spent 10 years in the same old worn-out coat and thinned-out boots, and her father saved on everything. There was almost always fried potatoes on the table and pasta with salt, sausages and delicacies only on big holidays. But the parents were good, not drunk. Mom was taking some part-time jobs, working as hard as she could. Mom and Dad were saving money all the time, but they were trying to buy their only daughter cheap things, but new ones, so that she was no worse than others. Mom sewed well, and if she managed to buy a cheap piece of fabric, then often Sveta ran in the summer in scarves and dresses of her mother's sewing. The daughter loved her parents very much and tried to be less capricious and ask for toys and updates. She understood that it was not easy for them. The girl saw how hard their family was surviving and made a conclusion very early for herself that she would become a great person, get a good profession, and will definitely go to the capital and will never repeat the fate of her parents. This became her goal, and she was stubbornly going to her almost from the first grade. That's why she was happy with her parents' marks and grades. The girl was a great student and was a proud student. She was always put as an example by teachers, but the students didn't like her, considering her a boring and mischievous girl. There was another boy in the class, Valera. He was from an unfaithful family. An old grandmother raised him, and the grief of his parents was always lost in the booze. They didn't care where their son was. He was the only one who could find a bottle of cheap vodka and drink it. Arms of someone else, and he barely studied. He was constantly bullied by the boys. They teased him. And they also teased him because the boy was very hard-headed, and even his name Valera could not pronounce normally. When the teacher called the boy to the board, in the class they immediately gave out jokes and shouts. "Oh, now it's going to start. Meshkov, first you spit everything out of your mouth, and then answer. Otherwise, it will be a goodbye again." Because of constant mischief, Valera was silent and closed. He practically did not communicate with anyone. He often walked around and avoided lessons. One day, a class leader, Oksana Ivanovna, came to Sveta on a shift and asked, "Sveta, you are a smart, old, and excellent person. I have a big request for you. Take Valera Meshkov on hand. You see, he has potential in him. I feel it. He can study well. But you see, no one takes care of them. They offend. Maybe you'll pull him up a little, otherwise I'm afraid he won't pass the exam. He will stay for the second year. What a pity, boy." The girl was not delighted with this offer. She did not want to deal with this simple silent. But as a responsible and performing person, she could not refuse the teacher and promised to help. On the same day, she came up to the boy after the lessons and said, "So, Valera, Oksana Ivanovna told me to help you with literature and mathematics. So, whether you want to or not, come to my house and do it. I will help you as much as I can. Otherwise, you will stay for the second year, for the joy of your offender." The boy looked at her so closely and asked quietly, "If you don't want to fight, let's go." So they became friends. Sveta took it so actively that by the end of the year Valera became a good man instead of a double, which surprised everyone. It turned out that the guy was smart and intelligent. He was just very shy about his defect of speech and poverty. But Sveta convinced him to fight. "You, Valeric, don't give up. I brought some special literature to the library and found it. We'll do some exercises to help you. What if it helps? And don't be afraid of this coward. He looks so scary, but he's a fat guy. It doesn't matter if you fight him or not. Just don't give up. Show him you're not afraid and attack. You're a tough guy. And we'll think of something about clothes. We have a tight family with money, but my mom is a great seamstress. If you get a piece of the fabric, a couple of shirts will easily sew you together. Nothing worse than buying clothes. And we'll look at your shoes for the weekend at the sale. I'm somehow getting out of it. As you can see, I'm not wearing boutiques either. The boy took her by the hand and looked at her with warmth. Thank you, Svetik. You are my only real friend. You understand me alone and are not ashamed. He is carrying me. I don't even need parents for 100 years. It's so sad. And Grandma is very old already. She can't carry me alone. It would be better if they didn't give birth at all. The girl encouraged her friend. Nothing, don't be sad. School will end soon. Let's go to the institute together. It's easier. I don't get along with my friends either. I know they think I'm boring. What should I talk to them about? About the fashionable rags, about the jeans I don't have, or about where one of them was resting while I was picking strawberries with my mom in the field to help the family. They'll laugh at me, right? And with you it's so easy and calm. You're just like me. I saw you running around the boxes in the evenings, loading them up on the market to earn at least a penny. We're from the same dough, so we need to stick together. I try to treat everything with humor, but I wasn't at the sea this year. Think about it. But the sun was not worse. So you too. Spit on them all and believe in yourself. We'll break through. Thanks to Svetlana's care and attention, the guy began to bark much less. He managed to throw the pole, started a fight. He overcame his fear and grabbed the behind-the-scenes teenager for a shivarot. At the same time, he shouted loudly, "If you touch me or Svetka again, I'll beat you. Got it?" He even got mad. But it was quiet. And most importantly, Valera finished school without any classes. And he had a high score in literature and mathematics. He easily scored any equation and problems. Now classmates only laughed at Sletseveti and Valerie. Tilly Do, a groom and a bride. Sweet couple. They found each other, too nosy. But the guys didn't pay attention to it and kept going towards their goal. Katia's parents got used to Valerie for a long time and considered him as their own. Despite the difficult financial situation, they didn't feel sorry for the soup or potato dishes, and he never left their hungry family. On the contrary, Katia's mother encouraged and praised the boy for his success in school. She understood how important it was for him, because the parents didn't care about their son's fate. And Katia's father was calm for his daughter. He didn't sleep at night, always under supervision. So Valera was always taken care of. Then there was the university. It was hard to study in a big city without any support. Other children's parents brought money and food-proof bags, but they didn't care. It was during this period that Valera found a commercial home. The boy wanted to help his girlfriend, and now his fiancée, to make her life easier, so he started to sell. On weekends he went to night market, bought packages of household goods among the young people, and then sold them at a little more price and at a low price. The goods were small, but they had enough food and clothes. The girl didn't sleep either and was a trainee. She wrote referrals and checks for a small fee to unborn students. She was also very fond of theater. She loved to dress up, to participate in student performances and concerts. It was her favorite hobby, a passion. The girl completely dissolved in her chosen image. So they walked hand in hand with Valera, without saying goodbye. They got engaged modestly after they got their bachelor's degree. It was their common victory. After university, they first lived in a family dormitory. Valera started a business, started to get a job, and eventually bought an apartment, and then a house, a car, and a daughter. Sveta gave herself to the family, but she was still a trainee. Katia grew up smart and intelligent. She studied well and went to a prestigious university. Her parents loved her very much, and they couldn't breathe on her. Life flew by like a moment. Svetlana grew up with her husband so much that they easily guessed each other's mood and desires. and they were literally one whole. The woman never regretted that she lived her life with Valera. After all, such a devoted and faithful husband is impossible to find. There was never a storm of passions and a storm of passions in A. They had one common inner world, two of them. From the school bench to this day. Only the matter of marriage between the daughter and her husband was so radically different for the first time. Sveta didn't understand why she didn't like her future son-in-law, but she didn't like him at once. Igor didn't look into her eyes. He was yawning and clearly darkened, and the daughter had a veil on her eyes. But she's okay. A stupid girl in love, and her husband is also good. He stood by his daughter and prepared everything for the wedding with her. He already looked at the restaurant and discussed the menu. For some reason, he saw his successor in Igor and expected that the son-in-law would gradually get involved in his business and continue his work. But Sveta decided not to give up so easily. It was not her character, and she took up the case, especially since the time was already pressing. The wedding was only a month away. The woman got a wig from her friends in the theater studio, a wig with long black hair, green contact lenses, a special cap that is inserted into the mouth and completely changes the face of the person and his speech. She bought a long, colorful balaclava. 3 hours of work and in front of the mirror. Instead of a well-groomed, year-old lady, there was an old fortune teller. You can't miss it. Sveta was searching for a legal address of the company where Igor was supposedly working for a long time. It was also called, curiously, the way to his home. But everything was covered in darkness there. All their intensive training sessions were held in various rented premises of the city, and the address of the company itself was in the industrial zone on the outskirts. Sveta decidedly went there, coming up with a story about how bad it was, saying that it was necessary to increase the self-esteem and so on. All the services were paid. I had to take a lot of money. All this was more like a divorce than really some serious organization. The woman in the makeup was just walking down the hall when she saw a cheerful, shining girl fly out of the office. About Katia's age, in an ultra-short dress. And behind her is a happy Igor. They hugged and started to kiss passionately, in a hug about something of their own, and didn't notice anyone or anything around. Igor whispered her passionate words of love, and the young girl laughed and moaned. Blood hit Sveta's head. Oh, you're a scoundrel. So you're cheating on my daughter? What a bastard. The wedding is coming up, and he's not doing anything. Wait a minute. So that's what a child does at work. Passing by, and the sound of the ball is heard. As usually do elderly people, the light suddenly stopped. And looking at Igor, Riplo said, Hello, dear man. I see that you are waiting for great happiness. Your destiny is interesting. And let me guess, you won't regret it. What happened? What will happen? You will know. Igor was offended. Who are you, and who did you come to? And how did you get here? Sveta answered confidently. I'm a government official, Juliana. Didn't you hear? So I decided to sign up for training. I help others and give my all, but nothing sticks in my life. My hands are completely down. Maybe you can help me with something? I heard people praise your office. People gain meaning of life. You seem to have some cool specialists. So what? Do you want to know what awaits you? I won't even take the money. I'll tell you everything, like it's the spirit, like it is. Igor was interested. Moreover, the girl next to him looked at everything that was happening, wide open, with clear interest, and waved his hand. Come on. I don't believe in all these guesses, but I'm still curious what you will tell there, even if I have fun. The woman barely held herself back. She was furious like a tigress and thought, Oh, how will you have fun? Svetlana took him by the hand. She rolled up her eyes as if to say, she kept silent for a long time, then suddenly said, You will get married soon, but not on this one, but on another girl. Her name is Katia. She is rich, her parents have money. You have already ordered a restaurant. Katia loves you. Oh, how much? But it's not your destiny. You don't need her. You won't have happiness. That's what I see. Igor changed his face and shouted, "Who are you, old woman? And how do you know all this?" The guy suddenly looked at the fortune teller in a bad way. Her image seemed to him somehow unrecognizable. He ran up to the woman and tore her wig off her head. Sveta spit out a mouthful of water and threw a hot balacon, declared victorious. "Well, did you get it, baby? Not only is your company a fake, I checked everything. You just divorce people for money. So you're cheating my daughter with this girl? You've completely lost your conscience." The girl standing next to him burst into tears and put Igor's ring on her cheek. "Oh, you bastard. You mean you sing about love every day? And you marry someone else? But you'll pay for everything I do. I know better than others that all these trainings are just a divorce. And now everyone will know about it. I'll try. You'll learn how to nag girls." And she ran away, all in tears. Igor politely kept silent, rubbed his burning cheek, began to justify himself. "You didn't get it. I love Katya, honestly, and it's not that serious. Forgive me." Sveta said to him cruelly, "Get out of our lives. There will be no wedding. Is that clear? And you will tell Katya everything yourself? And look at me, so that you don't lie. My eyes haven't seen you, and I'm glad that I haven't told you about your dark affairs yet. Where should I go?" I had to confess to Igor that Katya was a traitor. The wedding was canceled. Though her daughter loved Igor, she couldn't forgive such betrayal. It was disgusting. After all, if before the wedding the beloved cheats and sleeps with another, what will happen next? How can you start building a family if you no longer have trust in a person? Katya was very worried. She couldn't come to her senses after such betrayal for a long time. She dreamed of a strong and friendly family, like her parents, to walk hand in hand together. But the time was the best doctor. After graduation, the girl got a job at a good private company, an economist. It was there that she found her true love. Roman was her boss. From the first day, he was not exactly up to Catherine's level, but he didn't dare to say, or at least hint at it for a long time. He saw how Katya immediately stopped any attempts of male sex workers to get acquainted. The girl was always thoughtful and sad, but very responsible and hardworking. Roman was older than Ekaterina for years. He inherited the business from his father, and he managed it well. But with personal life, the man didn't get along. He always wanted to find a mother who could take care of the house, and was a good friend and loved. But only the greedy for money and the tail-clawed ones were the ones who got into trouble. They only knew that they demanded gifts for restaurants. Years passed, parents left for a different world, and Roma lived all alone in a huge mansion, not counting the coming maid and fluffy cat Semyon. Sometimes he didn't want to go home. Nobody was waiting for him there. But Katya turned everything in the soul of the man. It was her serious, always a little sad, gray eyes that deeply filled his soul. Every time the girl brought him a note and signature, his heart was freezing. He couldn't even breathe. This has never happened to Roman before. He would probably never have dared to approach the innocent beauty, if not for one occasion. Roman suddenly fell ill. He fell off a terrible angina. He didn't even have the strength to go to the hospital for the medication. He just called the hospital and called the doctor to come home. The temperature was too high, and it broke the whole body. At the end of the working day, the secretary Labachka came into the office and asked loudly the girls, "Our director is ill. He will not be there yet. Who of you can go to his home and bring the documents to his signature? Of course, it's my duty, but I need to take the child from the kindergarten. Can you help me?" And then, always silent, Katya suddenly quietly said, "I can. I don't care about the way. Let me come in." Dictate the address. Katya herself did not understand why she decided to call to help. Just wanted to, and that's it. She was not on the way at all. She lied, and she had to go through the whole city to the country house. In fact, Roman Sergeyevich was very nice to Katya. Not only as a boss, he was fair, even-minded, did not allow himself to break off with employees, and was even respectful of the cleaning lady. She was called the Fairy of Purity. And so, having learned about the boss's illness, the girl really wanted to visit him and, if necessary, help. Katya drove up to the director's house by taxi. The mansion was impressive in size and very well groomed. The girl rang the doorbell, knocked. No one. She began to ring the phone, also quiet. Not worried for a joke, Katya pushed the massive door and she gave in. The girl entered. She began to walk around the room and scream. Roman Sergeyevich, where are you? It's me, Ekaterina Valerievna Meshkova. But nobody answered her. Suddenly Katya heard a weak sound. She ran upstairs. In the bedroom, scattered on a huge bed, the director was lying in a wet and dirty bed. He was clearly crazy. Some pills and mixtures were laid on the bedside table. Scared Katya touched her forehead. He was just fuming. Then she threw the folder with the documents and the bag right on the floor and threw to save the patient. The girl made him a compress of vinegar with water, like her mother did in her childhood. She rubbed her whole body, cutting Roman's lower belly. She found a heat-reducing mixture and literally forcefully poured it into her mouth. 3 hours later, again, in such a state, she couldn't throw her boss away. So she called her mother, explained the situation, and she sent to Roman's address her home doctor. The doctor looked at the man, diagnosed him, injected antibiotics and hypothermic drugs, and left, writing down the treatment plan. He assured that in a couple of hours the patient would be relieved, and Katya was left to watch over the director at his house. In the morning, the novel was finally relieved. He woke up and didn't believe his eyes. Katya was sleeping on the chair near his bed. Her face was worried and worried. But all this time it seemed to him that Katya talking to him was just a dream. Roman barely spoke. The hellish pain in the throat and lungs did not allow this to be done. Katya, my dear, how are you here? What a miracle. I did not dare to dream of such happiness. The girl immediately trembled. Oh, you woke up. Well, thank God. I was sent by Luba, the secretary, to sign the papers yesterday. I came, and you were unconscious. You were so scared. Mom called, and she already sent our family doctor. He calmed me down and told me to look after you until you feel better. So I'm keeping watch over your sleep. Well, if you feel better, I'll probably go. Yes, I made chicken soup for you in the kitchen. Be sure to eat hot. And here's the doctor's prescription. Take it. If you want, I can run away and buy it. Roman couldn't look at Catherine. Thank you, Katya. You're my savior. Keep in mind, I won't eat soup without you. So let's go have breakfast together. Katya was confused, but agreed. She really felt a brutal hunger after all that happened. Young people ate together, had a nice chat, and suddenly switched to you. Already leaving, Katya said. Get well? Do you want me to come back tomorrow after work? Roman happily replied. I dream that you never leave this house and become its mistress. I really like you, Katya, so I'll be waiting. That's how their relationship turned out. The novel was not like The Passionate, but the pregnancy, thank God, went on without complications, and Katya was safely able to bring her to her end, except that her legs were bleeding, and she had almost seen nothing because of her huge belly. The time of birth was coming. Roman, as a responsible father, had foreseen everything to the smallest detail. In the elite maternity home, Katya was waiting for a separate, paid, comfortable ward. And on the phone, the leading nurse in the infirmary had to come immediately to receive the child. The man had already equipped the children's one, bought a fashionable, expensive stroller and a very profitable deal was scheduled, which was a great profit in case of her successful subscription. No one could trust such a director and decided to go alone. Roman was terribly worried. Katya, my dear, why don't you go to the maternity hospital today? For insurance. I understand. 3 more weeks. But still. Winter is coming. I won't be around. How can you be alone here? There is a TV in the ward and a shower. The doctors are on duty all day. I'll be fine. Besides, we'll have 2 kids. It's not easy. The wife hugged her husband, barely reaching out to him because of his huge belly, and calmed him down. Don't worry, everything will be fine. I feel great. My stomach doesn't hurt. I'll eat 3 of them, and I'll burst soon, like an air balloon. You'll be back after tomorrow. But I don't want to go to the hospital. I'll watch my favorite movies, sleep on my favorite couch. You know how hard it is for me to find a comfortable position so that the kids don't have to arrange a disco inside. Besides, tomorrow my mom promised to come to me. If anything, she'll stay for the night. So go and solve your problems. I left you sandwiches and coffee in the kitchen. Take it with you. You'll get hungry on the way. You'll have a snack. Roman bowed down, kissed his belly, put his ear on it and whispered, "Bye, my little ones. Daddy will be home soon. Sit there quietly." Katia laughed. Her husband's touching care was so sweet to her. She walked him home and decided to rest. She lay down on her pillows and turned on the melodrama. But then the phone rang. It was a friend from the university, Lena. Katia was very pleased with the unexpected call, and women started to whisper in silence. Lena was surprised. "Wow, you're a good boy. You got married successfully, and you're going to have twins soon. Not that your ex-boyfriend is a loser." Something was moving in Katia's soul. What about him? After our break, I never even met him on the street. Lena hurried to share the news. So his company burst like a soap bubble. Moreover, Igor was also dragged along by the ships. At the same time, he even drank in black. But then he took himself in his hands. He got a driver on a regular van, carrying out mail around the city. He lives with his sick mother. She is a heart patient. They say she needs surgery, but there is no money. These are the things. But who is to blame? He ruined his own life. There was nothing to run to the left. Katia became sad for some reason. First love is the strongest, no matter how you twist it. Okay, Lena, I'm glad to hear you. Goodbye. Katia got up, came up to the window and sighed. An hour ago it was quiet, and the sun was shining. And now there is a terrible storm, and you can't see the bottom. How is my beloved there? God, if only he had arrived normally. God forbid something happens to him. I won't survive this. The woman prayed to heaven. She grabbed her phone and started to call her husband. It was important for her to hear his voice, to calm down, realizing that everything was fine with him. But she only heard that the subscriber was unavailable. Katia began to get even more nervous, walking around the room, back and forth. She had already gone too far. After all, this is a road, and it's still so rough. From all these anxious thoughts, her stomach started to hurt, and it became hard to breathe. She was very sore in the back, and the fights began. And then suddenly something warm poured on her feet. The frightened woman realized that the water had gone. She was getting more and more husbands, but the one was still unavailable. Katia panicked and began to call her mother. She was screaming in her own voice. "Mom, my water has gone. I'm giving birth. And Roma only 2 hours ago went on a business trip. I can't reach her. He begged me to lie in the maternity hospital today. How did he feel? And I'm such a fool. I didn't listen. Mom, I'm afraid. What should I do?" Sveta became as calm as she could, and her heart was beating fast. "Don't panic. I'll call the ambulance. The doctors will come soon." Then she called her daughter again. "The ambulance is coming. Take yourself into your arms. How do you feel? The fights are frequent. Hold on. Breathe deeper. We're close. Everything will be fine. Prepare the map and all the documents so that everything is under control." Katia cried out of fear and pain and read, "Mom, come faster. I'm scared. I won't die." Did you see what a blizzard there was? What if the ambulance doesn't get there? Oh, it hurts so much. Sveta was fluttering around the house and shouting at her husband, Valera, run faster. Start the car. Katia is giving birth. Araman, we're on a business trip. We're going now. I've already called the ambulance. The man ran away from the place like a jet plane and ran to the garage without any further conversation. But seeing what was happening on the street, he ran back into the house. I'm afraid we won't go anywhere further than the yard. There's a terrible storm there. Oh God, everything is 1-to-1. We need to do something. The woman hurried and ran into the yard. There was nothing visible in the subway. She grabbed a huge shovel and started to clean the snow. So I will clean the road myself. I will walk, but I will help my daughter. Help. There is no time to be sad. My daughter is in trouble. It's my fault. It was necessary to forcefully place our daughter in the maternity hospital with Roma, or at least come to her not tomorrow, but today, so she would not be alone. They threw snow at the four of them and started their way, grabbing the shovels with them and realizing that they will definitely come in handy more than once. Meanwhile, Katia was in pain and prayed to God for the ambulance team to arrive on time and bring her to the maternity hospital. Finally, she heard the car honking outside the window. She put on her last clothes and almost crawled up to open the door, cringing in pain. She let the doctors in and fell right on the steps. Oh, Mom. Oh, it hurts so much. Help me. I'm dying. The nurse didn't get confused, ran up to the nurse and brought her to the bed with the nurse. He put the blanket on her, began to calm her down. So quiet, quiet. What's your name? How old are you? What's the date? How often do you have fights? When the waters have gone, don't panic. I'm nearby. I'll help you. Everything will be fine. We exhale. So good. And now we calmly answer my questions. Katerina came to her senses a little and began to tell everything in detail. The doctor looked at her and shook her head. Tax, open on 4 fingers. The childbirth is going on at full speed. We will give birth here. We will not get there. It is clear. What have you, my dear, reached to the last? It was necessary to be in the maternity hospital for a long time. Seeing the exhausted eyes of the little girl, almost crazy, he again began to calm her down. I repeat again, everything goes according to plan. You have no complications. Just listen to me. Do not be hysterical, and together we will cope. So, Irina Georgievna, get ready for now. Take out the suitcase. Ekaterina, where can we get clean? Just unboiled water? Well, do not cry. Exhale. So, hold my hand. Think that it's not easy for kids now. Help them to come to life. Good girl. So, and now again. Inhale, exhale, and press. Surprisingly, everything went well. And an hour later, Katia gave birth to 2 children one by one, a boy and a girl. One screamed immediately, but the second doctor was driving for a long time. Something pumped him, spit, shook him, rubbed him, and finally the child was weak, but squealed. The vet exhaled. Phew. Well, you scared me, baby. Katia, well, stop crying. Everything is fine. You gave birth to children alive and healthy. True, your boy is weak. You need to go to the maternity hospital anyway, and you will still be there under supervision. And I did what I could. Tax, where are the diapers and things for the babies? Do you have anything? Katerina grabbed the felt-tip pin in her hand. Thank you. It's huge, human. I don't know how to thank you. You're just my savior. If it weren't for you, I have everything ready for the babies. Take everything in the box of the suitcases over there. It's a storm outside. Put them on warmer. Then the phone rang. Roman was on the phone. Katia, honey, what happened? The connection is terrible. How are you? So many people missed you. Katia cried again. I gave birth to a boy and a girl. The birth began at home prematurely. Thank God, the ambulance team was in time. Here, the filter, Anatoly Sergeyevich, took the birth. Now I will be taken to the maternity hospital. Roman almost screamed. Oh God, I told you to go to bed in advance. I shouldn't have listened to you, but to put you in the ward. Hold on. I'm leaving everything and going back. Darling, tomorrow I'll be with you. To hell with everything. Thank you, dear, for the children. I can't realize yet that I've become a dad. Give the doctor the phone. I'll explain where to take you. I've made a deal. They're waiting for you there. Catherine was taken to the ambulance in a car, and they left. The nurse was holding the kids. Katia finally calmed down a little. Well, that's it. The worst is behind. You can rest. Now she will be placed in a comfortable room with the children. The little son will look around. Now everything will be fine. Mom called right away. Daughter, how are you? Where are you? I call you. There is no connection. I'm busy. I'm going crazy. I'll go crazy soon. We're going to dig our way out with our father. We're not going to get out on the highway. Something's going on here. I don't know how we'll get to your country. Katia answered. Mom, I've already given birth. You're a grandma. And say hello to Grandpa. The ambulance driver accepted the delivery. I'm being taken to the maternity hospital with the babies. My son is weak, so go with Dad there right away. Write down the address. Novgorodskoye, maternity department. Sveta rubbed the snow on her face with her hand and cried out so loudly that Valerie was terrified to death and threw the shovel, supposing something terrible. What's there? Come on, tell me. What's wrong with Katia? The woman threw herself at her husband and threw him in the snow. She gave birth to a daughter. You're a grandfather. Thank God. The boy and the girl. She said the girl is fine, and the son is weak. They take her to the maternity hospital. An ambulance is in the car. Thank God. Everything is fine. We are going to the maternity hospital in Novgorodsk. Hurry up, they are taking her there. Valerie could not help but be happy. He hugged his wife so tightly, and began to kiss. It's crazy to go. Yesterday, it seems, he was a student himself, and now he is a grandfather. 2 grandchildren at once. My poor daughter. I can't even imagine how she could stand all this alone. But as it turned out, it was too early to rejoice. And those tests were waiting for Catherine ahead. On the way, the ambulance car stuck in the snow. The roads are not clean. At first, they tried to pull the car out with their own strength. The drivers and doctors got tired of it, but the wheels were only stronger and deeper tied. I had to turn off the engine, as the engine had already overheated. The driver tried to contact the dispatcher and report about the emergency situation, and the scared Katia began to call her mother and Roman, telling them what had happened. Roman panicked and tried to call an ambulance or a bulldozer. He went crazy with anxiety and was angry every second for going on this damn trip, leaving Katia alone at home. He knew that the birth was coming, an adult man, but he was out of his mind. The doctor said that the son was weak. We'll freeze, and that's it. And there's a lot of gasoline. We can also warm up the salon. Why? Am I so unlucky? Not one thing is like another, and everything happens in one day. The fool's husband said, "Get down, you bastard." 3 hours passed. It was already dark outside, and there was no help. Even the calm doctor began to get nervous. He scolded everyone on the radio, and then, in the middle of the road, everyone saw the headlights. A small van was driving towards them. The ambulance driver waved his hands in order to ask for help. A young man in a bulky jacket with a hood came out of the cab and, listening to what was being said without any conversation, began to help push the car out. They tried both in front and behind, but they couldn't. Realizing that they wouldn't come out, he hooked the ambulance to his van with a rope and began to slowly pull. They were driving for another half an hour, but still pushed the ambulance out. The driver of the van did not leave the doctors and the nurse and dragged them to the home by car, because the gasoline ran out in the ambulance. The man saw the doctors running out, and only after that he waved his hand from afar and went home. That time was already too late. It was Igor. Yes, yes. The ex-husband of Katia. It was he who was on the snowy road that night on his old van. He was just returning home after the delivery of mail and parcels. Igor didn't even know who was in the car. He just helped. It was a pity for the little girl and the kids, who got into such a mess. The guy got very cold and fell asleep literally without strength. And at night he had a high temperature. The old mother couldn't beat her on her own. And the next day he got to the ward. He had pneumonia, and he had to stay here for a long time. Katia and her children were examined. Everything was fine. Mom and father came, and in the morning, her beloved husband. Flowers were growing on the windowsill. Katia was covered with delicious fruits, but the strict doctor put them in the garden. He ate the flowers and the citrus one too, explaining that it was possible to bring a birthday girl, but it was not. All relatives and close ones were happy that everything ended so well and congratulated their mother on the birth of their children. They took the children on hand during the break and adored them. Katia was not satisfied. We must find that truck driver who pulled us out and thank him from the bottom of our hearts. If it wasn't for him, we would have frozen there until morning. Dad, will you help me with this? You have connections, don't you? But no one had to look for him. The nurse who entered the room and heard the talk of Katia and her father immediately answered, "So why should we look for him? Your savior is lying in the next building with pneumonia. He was brought here last night. Not everyone knows. Not every day this happens. You are now famous. Everything is like in the TV series." Katia immediately jumped out of bed. "Mom, Roma, will you stay with the kids? It's still an hour before the next feeding, and I'm a second away. You can go through the inner passage here. If anything, I went to the toilet, otherwise they will scold me. I can't leave the maternity home. I'll just say thank you to him, and that's it. But we must. He saved our lives, and he fell asleep. Apparently, he got cold." Katia, as she was in her dress and slippers, quietly climbed the stairs. I found out where the nurse in the room where her lifeguard was. And when I went there, I was just stunned. It was Igor, the ex-husband, the first love. He saw her and also asked, surprised, "Katia, I don't believe my eyes. Where are you from here? And in this form?" The woman sat down on a chair. "So, who saved me yesterday with the children? Well, I have to. Thank you, Igor, from the bottom of my heart. If it wasn't for you, we would have frozen with my babies on a snowy road. How are you?" The nurse said, "You have pneumonia." Igor waved his hand. "It's all a trifle. He froze yesterday and got wet. It will be better a little. I'm glad, Katia, that I helped you, although you somehow bought your guilt for that disgusting deed. You know, I regretted it 100 times later. I couldn't create a family. I was looking for someone like you, but I couldn't find one. I sincerely congratulate you on the birth of your children. So you found your love after all?" Katia answered, "Yes, Igor, I found it. And I'm married to a very good and decent man. His name is Roman. I haven't been angry at you for a long time, although I couldn't get away from betrayal for a long time. But now everything is in the past. I want to see you, meet your love, get married, create a family." Igor waved his hand. "I've already put a cross on my personal life. If only my mother had time to collect it for the surgery. Her heart is bad. She needs to be shunted. And I seem to be putting it off a little, but I can't get half of it. Come on, these are my problems. Don't take it to your head. Good luck, Katia, and forgive me for everything." Katia came to the room, quiet, and said sadly, "Do you know who saved me yesterday? Who was the truck driver? You never guess. This is Igor, my ex-husband-in-law. That's how it happens in life. I still can't believe it. He has changed so much. Not like he used to be. It seems his life has been a real mess. Svetlana immediately sighed. Oh, come on. It seems he's not a bad guy, and he's capable of good deeds. Let's go, Cavalier, and we'll visit him. We'll thank the daughter and grandchildren. And the young parents, let them be together. Roman suddenly felt a painful jealousy injection. He did not expect this from himself, and with tension in his voice he asked, "What were you talking about for so long, Katia? I'm terribly jealous of you. Take it into account, I won't give you to anyone. So be it. Do you still love him?" The woman laughed and pressed herself against her husband. "My dear, don't make a fool of yourself and don't make up nonsense. You are my happiness and my child, and I don't need anyone else. I loved Igor very much, it's true, but it was a long time ago. Only with you I realized that a woman is truly happy only with those who take care of her. I even feel sorry for Igor. He lives with his sick mother. He collects money for her surgery. There is no normal job, no personal life either. It seems that he is to blame for everything. You can't argue here. But still, I feel sorry for him." The children woke up, began to cruelly bend over, look for their lips and their breasts and cry. Roma took Bogdanchik in his arms and shook him while Katia fed Lyra. The man was amazed at how beautiful a woman feeding a child with her breast was. The baby was laughing and crying, while Katia was crying out of amazement. She wanted to kiss this little funny nose and not let go of herself. Svetlana and Valerie visited Igor, talked to each other. They forgot their grudges and forgave each other. At the General Family Council, they decided to help his sick mother and pay for her surgery. They made it in time. Everything went well, and the old woman went to the... Probably only after the conversation with Katia, Igor let her go, stopped dreaming about a possible meeting or looking for the same one as she did. He remembered his mistakes well, so he did not lie to his fiancée, but said everything as it was. Igor happily made pasta with borscht and pasta and did not notice the fullness of women and red canapés at all. They sometimes walked with Katia and Roman in the park with the kids. Women quickly found common language and became friends. They discussed recipes for dishes and other women's things. Alya adored children and enjoyed going out with the kids. With the appearance of Alya, the romance calmed down completely and stopped jealous of his Katia. He was proud of his big family. Only the divas were familiar and old friends of the Meshkov family. But, oh, how fate was intertwined. The saints helped the former Katia's fiancé and his mother. They befriended each other and communicated as if nothing had happened. But Katia thought otherwise. Just any person needs to be given a second chance. After all, we all often do disgusting and unethical deeds, for which it is so shameful later. The main thing is to realize them and change, to be able to ask for forgiveness and to forgive. Just stay human. That's the whole secret.